My girlfriend introduced me at her birthday party as her best friend and announced, "My best friend will be covering the entire bill tonight." I just gave a cold smile, walked straight to the counter, paid for my own meal and left. That night, my phone wouldn't stop ringing, filled with angry messages from her after she realized I'd only paid for myself. She really thought she was in control. In the middle of her fancy birthday party, champagne in hand, Sarah turned to the crowd and said with a sweet fake smile, "Everyone, this is my best friend, Mark." The word landed like a slap. Best friend, not boyfriend. But before I could even blink, she added, "And as a special treat, my best friend will be covering the entire bill tonight." The room burst into cheers. People laughed, clapped, shouted my name like it was some kind of joke. Sarah beamed, soaking up the attention, the queen basking as her loyal servant picked up the check. I didn't say a word. I smiled, not the warm kind she was used to, but the cold kind that ends a story. I stood up, adjusted my jacket, and walked straight to the counter. Behind me, the applause kept going. She turned back to her friends, confident the night was hers. What she didn't know was that the real show had just begun. And this time, I was the one writing the ending. I'm Mark, 32, project manager. The kind of guy who pays bills on time, remembers birthdays, and believes effort means something. I'm not rich, but I take care of people. That's how I show love. Sarah was everything I wasn't, loud, magnetic, always in the spotlight. The kind of woman who could make a simple coffee run look like a red carpet event. Her world revolved around attention, likes and validation. And honestly, at first I found it exciting. We'd been together 8 months. Long enough for the excitement to fade. Short enough for me to still believe it might get better. But deep down I already knew the truth. Our relationship was one-sided. I was the planner, the fixer, the good guy. She was the taker. I remembered dates. She forgot mine. I showed up for her events. She skipped mine because she was too tired. And when the check came, somehow her card always didn't work. It wasn't random. Sarah was smart, just in a different way. She knew exactly how to make me feel guilty for saying no. "You're not mad, are you?" "You're so responsible, babe, that's why I love you." It sounded like affection, but it was control, wrapped in sugar. Then came her birthday. She wanted to celebrate at Elan, the most expensive rooftop bar in the city. "It's perfect for photos," she said. "The view, the lights. My friends will die when they see it." When I asked what she wanted as a gift, she smiled and said, "A night where I don't have to think about the price." "That's the best gift you could give me." I laughed at the time. Now looking back, it was a warning. She spent weeks planning her outfit, the decorations, the guest list, everything but the bill. That part she'd already assigned to me, silently and confidently. The night before the party, I picked up the necklace I'd bought for her. Gold, delicate, way too expensive for what we were. I held it in my hand, and for the first time I didn't feel proud or excited. Just heavy, like I was rewarding someone for taking advantage of me. I told myself to give her one last chance. Maybe she'd surprise me. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But deep down I knew the truth. Sarah didn't love me. She loved the version of herself that existed because of me. The night of Sarah's birthday was exactly what she wanted it to be. Loud, expensive, and made for Instagram. The restaurant was one of those rooftop luxury places that charged you for the view more than the food. Every corner was filled with people pretending to be more glamorous than they actually were. Sarah walked in like she owned the place. Red dress, high heels, perfume so strong you could almost see it trailing behind her. Cameras clicked as soon as she stepped into the private dining area. "Oh my God, you look amazing," her friends shouted. And she did. But it wasn't the kind of beauty that felt real. It was curated, practiced, built for an audience. I was part of that audience. She barely spoke to me at first. Just a few quick glances, "Can you take a photo of us?" every 10 minutes. When she laughed, it wasn't because something was funny. It was because someone was watching. The way she moved, the way she posed, the way she whispered things like, "Make sure to tag me in that," it was all part of her performance. Halfway through dinner, I realized I hadn't actually enjoyed a single moment. I was just there, the wallet in the background. Still, I tried to stay polite, smiled when she made jokes at my expense, nodded when she talked about how successful people never worry about bills, and when she leaned in and said, "You don't mind if I invite a few more friends, right?" "It's my birthday," I just said. "Sure, go ahead." By the time the food came, there were 15 people at the table, most of whom I'd never met. Sarah was glowing under the fairy lights, surrounded by people clinking glasses, cheering her name. Then, right before dessert, she stood up and called for attention. "Everyone," she said loudly, tapping her glass with a fork. "Before we continue, I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming tonight." She paused dramatically, smiling as cameras pointed her way. "And especially to my best friend Mark." She looked at me, eyes gleaming. "Who's covering the entire bill tonight?" Applause, laughter, cheers. I froze. For a second I thought she was joking. But then I saw her face and that confident, smug grin. The look of someone who expected to get away with it. I smiled back automatically. The kind of smile you wear when your brain hasn't caught up with the betrayal yet. But deep down I felt something click, like a final piece falling into place. She thought she'd outsmarted me again. That I'd laugh it off, pull out my card and play the role of the generous fool one more time. But that role was done. I stood up quietly. The sound of the chair scraping against the floor made a few people glance up. Sarah gave me a look, a smug little nod as if to say, "That's my man." I walked straight to the counter. The cashier, a young woman with kind eyes, smiled. "Hi, are you ready for the check?" "Yes," I said calmly. "I'll be paying for my part." "The pasta, 2 glasses of wine, and the birthday cake I pre-ordered." She blinked. "Oh, Miss Sarah mentioned that—" I interrupted gently but firmly. "She can handle hers. I'll handle mine." There was a pause. Then the cashier nodded and printed the bill. I tapped my card. The machine beeped, approved. She handed me the receipt. I folded it neatly and slipped it into my jacket pocket. On the paper, one line stood out in bold, "Paid in full." I turned around. From across the room, Sarah was still talking to her friends, laughing, unaware. She saw me, smiled proudly and mouthed, "Thank you." I didn't smile back, didn't nod. I just looked at her, not with anger, not even with sadness, just quiet understanding. Then I walked out. The night air hit me like a wave. Cold, clean, free. Behind me, the music continued, muffled through the glass walls, the sound of laughter, clinking glasses and lies. I kept walking until I couldn't hear it anymore. For the first time in months, my mind was silent. No second guessing, no confusion, just peace, the kind that comes when you finally stop pretending. Inside that restaurant, she was still the star of her own show. But the stage lights were about to go out. An hour passed after I left. My phone was silent and no calls, no texts. That silence felt strange, like the calm before a storm. I pictured her still laughing, still drinking, thinking everything was fine. Maybe she even bragged a little more, saying, "Mark's got it covered. Don't worry." She was probably enjoying her moment of victory, soaking in the admiration. But I knew what was coming. Somewhere between the last selfie and the first hint of the bill being late, someone must have called the waiter. Sarah probably leaned back, smiling. "It's fine," she might have said. "My friend already paid." Then the waiter returned us not with gratitude, but with the truth. "Excuse me, miss. Your friend only paid for his own meal and the birthday cake." That's when it happened, the collapse of her perfect little show. I imagined her face draining of color. "What?" The waiter repeated. He covered his part only. "Here's the remaining total," the number printed in bold at the bottom of the check. 2,047.36. Her voice probably cracked. "You must be mistaken. He wouldn't just—" But the paper didn't care about her pride. Around her, the noise started fading. The laughter died. Her friends exchanged awkward looks. Someone whispered, "Wait, I thought he was paying." Another murmured, "Maybe not." That's how her castle of confidence fell, not with drama, but with quiet disbelief and the sharp sound of reality slapping her ego. She must have tried to smile it off, maybe even joke, "Oh, he's just teasing me." But there was no saving it. The truth was already out, and it spread fast, the same way gossip always does. She ended up standing there, clutching her purse, scrambling through her wallet while her friends avoided eye contact. Maybe she called her brother. Maybe she begged a few of them to chip in. Either way, the birthday queen became the spectacle she never wanted to be, and when she finally left that place, humiliated, furious, small, and her phone found me. The first text came at 11:48 p.m. "Sarah, what the hell did you just do? Then they came like gunfire. You think that was funny? You left me there with a $2,000 bill. Everyone saw. Everyone's laughing at me because of you. You're pathetic. A real man would never embarrass a woman like that. Come back and fix this right now, or I swear I'll make you regret it. I didn't reply. I just let the messages keep coming. Then her tone changed. Please, I can't believe you'd do this to me on my birthday. You know how bad that looked? I thought you cared. Still, I said nothing. Silence was my statement. A few minutes later, her last message came through. You'll regret this. Everyone will know what kind of man you are. I put my phone face down. The room was quiet, peaceful. Outside, the city hummed softly, unaware of the storm in her phone. For months, I'd let her write the story. The hero, the fool, the background character who made her shine. That night, I simply stopped playing my part. And just like that, the spotlight went out. The next morning, I woke up to a phone full of unread messages, dozens of them. Some angry, some desperate, some just pure nonsense. I sat there, coffee in hand, scrolling slowly. Every word she sent only proved I'd done the right thing. She wasn't mad because she'd been wronged. She was mad because she'd lost control. I didn't reply. Not one word. Silence was the only answer that fit. For a few days, she kept trying. Texts, calls, voice notes, each one more emotional than the last. Then she switched tactics. Sarah, I miss you. I know I overreacted. Can we talk? Sarah, you embarrassed me, but maybe I pushed too far too. Sarah, can we just forget that night? No, we couldn't. When I didn't answer, she showed up at my apartment once. I didn't open the door. I watched her from the peephole. Same dressy outfit, but her eyes looked tired, her confidence cracked. After 10 minutes, she left. That was the last time I ever saw her in person. I took out the necklace I'd planned to give her, the one that cost me almost half a paycheck. For a second, I thought about tossing it away. Instead, I placed it on my desk, took a photo under the morning light and posted it online with a caption. For sale. Brand new necklace. Comes with a free lesson in knowing your worth. It sold in a day. After that, life got quiet, beautifully quiet. No more drama, no emotional roller coasters, no pretending. I started hitting the gym again, took extra projects at work, hung out with real friends who didn't measure affection in receipts, and slowly peace replaced chaos. 6 months later, I was at a small bookstore cafe downtown, one of those cozy ones with live jazz and people who actually read. That's where I met Ella. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. We talked about books, bad movies, and the way people forget how to just be decent. The conversation flowed so easily it almost felt strange. No games. No performance. When the bill came, she just smiled and said, "Let's split it." And that simple gesture hit harder than any big romantic moment ever could. A few minutes later, I felt someone's eyes on me. I looked up. It was Sarah. Different hair, different makeup, but the same look, except now it was tired. She was sitting with a group of people, laughing too loudly, forcing energy she didn't have. Then she saw me, saw Ella, saw our joined hands, our quiet laughter. For a second, her face froze. The fake smile cracked. Then she looked away quickly, pretending she hadn't noticed. But I saw the truth in her eyes, and not anger, not jealousy. Just the heavy, silent regret of someone who finally realized the show was over. I turned back to Ella, who was telling a funny story about her dog. I laughed, genuinely, feeling lighter than I had in years. And in that moment, I knew something simple but powerful. The best revenge isn't anger or payback or making someone sorry. It's peace. Real peace. I didn't just walk away from Sarah that night at the restaurant. I walked back to myself, and honestly, that's the best bill I've ever paid. And if you've listened this far, thanks. Not for taking my side, but for hearing the story. Because sometimes we don't need revenge or closure. Just someone to understand why we finally walked away.